Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, and the fact that we are playing Darklords once again, we're talking about Darklord Branded. Yes, that's right, Darklord Branded, which is basically just Despia Darklord, except now with Branded Fusion. So, let's quickly do the overview of the deck. First of all, we are playing a small Despia engine within here as well, just because I feel like being able to go Branded Fusion, dump something like Tragedy, get Aluber, get whatever you may need, is very good. Also, it kind of baits out a potential Ash Blossom or interaction just in general, something like an Imperm or what have you. So yeah, that's why. Starting off, we have the one Tragedy, we have the two Aluber, the one Dramaturg, the one Ad Libitum, as well as one Theater. Now, this actually comes up quite a lot, just because it allows us to more easily go into first Darklord. Then we are also playing the two Branded Opening, as well as the two Branded in red. As you can see, we're playing 43 cards, and in all honesty, I would just cut the Traps if I wanted to play 41. There isn't really anything else I would cut. Moving on, we have the branded stuff. We have two Fallen of Albaz as well as the triple Branded Fusion. That's it. That's the whole combo. Basically, we're going dumping Albaz, dumping Tragedy, and then just doing the whole line with Lubellion and the like. Next up, we have ourselves the Darklords. We have one Ukobak, we have the double Indulged, we have one Amdusk, one Nastin, one Superbia, one Tez, triple Ixchel, one Morningstar, triple Banishment, and double Contact. At this point on my channel, I feel like most people should know what I'm doing with the Darklords. The reason we're playing the Nastin is to get it off of things like the Morningstar. It's kind of good in very specific situations where it's just a free special summon sometimes, by getting something like a Banishment and an Uprising, into the grave, or you know, another trap. So yeah, it's just like the best of the differently named Darklords. It's either this or Nurgle, basically, so I go for Nastin. I think it's a little bit better. But yeah, all in all, it's pretty simple. You can also dump Superbia if you need to the graveyard off of a Branded Fusion, so then you can go Superbia and bring back more monsters. But the problem with that is that you don't really have anything to use those monsters on because you're fusion locked, and so you can't like link summon into something like a Condemned or a Verte or something else. So not really the greatest of plays. We are playing a few other tech cards, notably the double Maxi, double Ash Blossom, double Nibiru, and that's it for the hand traps. We're also playing, of course, two Super Poly and two Called by the Grave. And then the last two cards we have are Darklord Rebellion and Darklord Uprising. These never came up, not once, not a single time. You could cut these, absolutely. I'm just going to show you what I ended up playing with. Definitely cut these. Just play 41. As for the extra deck, we are playing one Dragas Depelio. Yeah, this is just the best Super Poly target, and it's like the only one that's really worth it. If you are basically playing if you are playing against something that can be Super Polyed, 9 times out of 10, you can either go into a Dragas Depelia, or you already have a monster that you could like normal summon and then fuse away the opponent's board with. So yeah, just Dragas Depelia seems to be the best option. Next up, we have Albion. We're playing 2 of this. It's just the best send target off of Mirror Jade. Of course, we're playing 2 of this. And we are also playing 2 Lubellion. This could probably be cut down to 1 as well, and then play another super polymerization target, or potentially, yeah, I'd probably cut this and just play another super poly target. Though, honestly, it never really came up. But yeah, it probably would. We're also playing the one Queritus as well as the one Masquerade, and that's and then the one Chimera as well. For the Darklord cards, we're running the 2 first Darklord, as well as 1 Condemned. There are a few instances where you can actually go into Condemned where you're not fusion locked, and this does help just like get, you know, potentially something like a Morningstar in more Darklord heavy hands, but it's pretty rare. Then we have the one Predaplant Verte Anaconda for the super polymerization, as well as potentially Branded Fusion if you need to, and then the one Underworld Goddess. This also never came up. You could probably cut this as well for another super poly target. So let's check out the deck and see how it performed. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. Alright, so here we are going second, and we drew both Nibirus. What the fluff? Okay, it's fine. My opponent is going to normal summon Photon Orbital, which is weird, and then go for Union Driver, which is even more weird, which will then equip a Beatbuster Drake, which will then special summon itself. They're then going to Igzy into Baguska Pass. Plan B! Let's go! Yeah, it's Baguska Pass, and we draw probably one of the best draws that we could have with Despia Theater. So we're going to go for the Despia Theater here. They are going to chain their Maxi. That's fine. I'm going to Called By it. I really don't want them to draw 2 cards. Please don't do that. Thank you. Yay, Called By. So we are going to fuse off into a Despia Queritus. The reason for this is because it's just as good in defense. Also, I don't think Masquerade is really worth it here, just because like they could go Baguska into Zeus, which I really don't want them to do. But anyway, we're going to then special summon out the Dramaturg of Despia and pass the turn. They're going to have to pitch a card off of the Baguska. Then they are going to go for their Fateful Adventure. They're going to go for the Fateful Adventure, pitching the Water Enchantress. They're going to activate the Water Enchantress in order to grab up their Rite of Aramesir. They're going to activate the Rite of Aramesir. They are going to grab up the token. They're going to then search out their Dracoback, or just equip it, and then they are going to send away their Queritus. We're going to change everything to 0, and they will pass. I don't know why they passed and didn't try to attack to go into Zeus. That seems like the correct play, but sure, you do you, boo. Alright. I draw Nastin for turn, which is pretty interesting. But we are going to go for the Fallen of Alboz here. They are going to impermit. Okay, that's fine. Nastin's now in the grave. Not that big of a deal. We're going to go for our Despia Theater to go for Lubellion. At this point, we basically have full combo. So we are going to activate our Dramaturg, and my opponent will concede. Yay, Darklords? Alright, I know that last one wasn't so much about the Darklords, but trust me, this one will be. So, my opponent is playing Dinomorphia. They're going to set 3 and pass. Kind of light on the set cards, but okay. We ended up drawing Super Poly, which is rather interesting. I'm going to go for Banishment here, which does force out the Ash Blossom, kind of what I expected, and then they are going to go for the Fusion Summon of Ketragina. Pretty nice here. We still have the Super Poly. They're going to banish for the Ketragina here in order to go for the Stealth Bergia. I'm then going to fire off the Super Poly. We're going to pitch the Uprising in order to go for a Dragastapelia. As I said, most often there's going to be an option for you to either go for Dragastapelia, or even if we hadn't have had a target with specifically Dragastapelia, we could have just normal summoned the Aluber and gone for the Super Polymerization there. So not really the worst option. We're going to go for the Theater here, and then we're going to go and fusion off into first Darklord. This seems pretty good here. My opponent is going to go for the Lost Wind, and we are going to negate the Theresia just in case, and then out comes Trap Trick. Trap Trick is really problematic here because this gets them into, well, you'll see. We're going to then special summon our Nastin just so that we have it. They're going to go for their Ferret Flames. Now, if you don't know what this card is, if the combined attack of all face-up monsters your opponent controls is higher than your life points, you make your opponent shuffle face-up monsters they control into the deck, except monsters with 0 attack. So the combined attack of the remaining monsters they control becomes less than or equal to your life points. So basically, it deals with our entire board. Oof. However, I'm going to search up the Indulged here just so that we have it as additional follow-up. I'm going to proceed to battle, and I'm going to crash the Dragastapelia just so that I get it off of the field. Anyway, we're going to pass turn, and they are going to proceed to battle. They're going to deal 15, and yeah. Realistically, I didn't need to deal with the Dragastapelia, but I did. Just kind of silly there. Anyway, we're going to go for the Indulged. That will bait out the Ash Blossom. A-okay with that. We're going to go for the Branded in red because we happen to draw it off of the top of the deck. We're going to go for the Aluber, and then we are going to fuse it into, that is right, Masquerade. Masquerade literally kills them. They cannot do anything. They're going to burn. They're going to bring back their Lost Wind. I'm going to attack, and now they cannot activate anything. The game is now over. Good game. Thank you for having me. Why bring back Lost Wind? Alright, so here we are against basically a mirror match. It's the deck that everyone and their mother is playing, and they have set 3 and passed. Feels good. So I'm going to draw Branded in red. This hand is actually very good altogether. Because we can just pitch the Ixchel, which it's doing nothing. So we're going to add up the Theater. We're then going to go for the Branded Fusion here. We are going to go and fuse into the Lubellion, and then we are going to activate the Lubellion and the Tragedy, and I'm actually going to pitch the Super Polymerization because I feel like it's not going to do anything. Turns out that was not exactly the best call, but it's fine. We're going to go and activate the Mirror Jade, and they are going to Super Poly away our monsters. Okay, out comes Queritus. That's fine, we're just gonna banish it. We're gonna activate our Mirror Jade, as well as we are going to negate the effect of their Queritus by activating Ash. We're then going to search up the Branded in Red, activate the Branded in Red to search up the Aluber, and I'm not actually going to fuse here, and the reason for that is because we have Theater that can actually fuse as well, while not banishing the Aluber. We only have the one Aluber in rotation, so I kind of do want it engrave just in case. So yeah, this just seems like a better option overall. This play technically loses to something like a Ghost Ogre in hand, which is like the one card that would have lost us this game. However, it didn't end up happening. So we do get to bring back the Mirror Jade as well. We're going to activate the Mirror Jade, and we are going to banish the Despia Tragedy. They're going to activate the effect in order to grab up the Aluber, but at this point, we deal so much damage, as well as having Masquerade on field. They have 3 activations, as well as us being able to grab the Branded in Red. This basically is game over. Yeah, they proceed to the end phase and just, concede. Alright, so this deck that we are playing against, finally we're going first, by the way, is the deck that is no longer available to play in the post-banlist world, and that is Halcyon Turbo. So I'm actually going to open with Branded Opening as well as Tragedy. Somehow this happened. I'm only playing the one Tragedy, but there you go. Feels pretty good. We also have enough to go for a first Darklord here. So we're going to search up the Ad Libitum, just because having it in hand feels pretty good, and we don't really have another search target other than Aluber, so I could have guessed. I could have gone for Aluber. Realistically, I had another play in mind that I was going to go for, but I just ended up going for the first Darklord here. We also end up sending the Ixchel to the graveyard so that I can bring him back later. I also mess up a little bit here with the first Darklord in the way that I do this. So I'm going to activate the first Darklord, and I'm going to bring back the Superbia. Then Superbia is going to target the Ukobak. Now, I've already used Ukobak's effect, so realistically, what I should have done is brought back the Ixchel, and then I could have used the Ukobak on the following turn with our first Darklord, and we could have had the first Darklord bring back the Ukobak to dump something like one of the traps, which could then potentially either fuse or more likely have a pop with the Ixchel. However, I don't do that because I'm stupid and forget that Ukobak is not a once per turn, or soft once per turn, but is in fact a hard once per turn. I see the Rite of Eremacir come out, and I'm like, okay, I do want to actually potentially get something like a Aluber onto my field before it gets negated. So I activate the Branded Opening here. They go for the Ash Blossom. Sure, that's fine. They're going to go for their Adventure token. They're then going to go for Symphonic Warrior Guitar. This card just summons a tuner. That's its entire job. It's a pendulum that discards a card to summon a tuner for free. That's it. So this is just Halcyon stuff. They're going to search out their Dracoback as well. They're going to activate the effect of their Dracoback. Here, I'm going to bring out the Aluber. Again, I don't want it to be negated. And then I see that they go for Water Enchantress, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a 3. Maybe they want to go for 2 3s, or maybe they have the Griffin Rider already in hand. I'm a little confused, but okay. We're going to go for the Aluber. I'm going to search out the Branded Fusion because I don't really have any targets engraved for like Branded in red, and I just feel like it's the best target. They are going to bounce our Theater. Kind of hurts, but not really that big of a deal. And then they are going to Synchro into a Changing. Okay, yeah. They're going to banish, add back the Rite of Eremacir that was in the grave instead of from deck. I don't know why they do this, but sure. They're going to banish the Aluber as well as the first Darklord. Okay, this is a-okay. We still have the Ad Libitum in hand as well. And we're going to search up the first star, or the Morning Star. Realistically, should I have done this? No. I'm not going to wipe their field just due to the fact that they have the Changing. So, yeah, this was a mistake for me. Anyway, they go for the Called By here, and they Called By Tragedy. Odd choice there. I think they thought that their Changing would activate in the same chain as the Lubellion being summoned, so the Lubellion would have been banished prior to it being able to activate its effect. Or they're just really dumb and don't realize that this card can shuffle back from the banish zone. Probably that one. So yeah, I just end up pitching the Theater because I don't really want to pitch anything else. And we're just going to shuffle back 2 of our monsters and go into Mirror Jade. My opponent realizes they have made a terrible mistake here because I am now able to banish their monster and they concede. What in the world was going on? Alright, and here we are going second. However, we ended up drawing Maxi and Nibiru and Super Polymerization and Branded Fusion and Branded in Red. Jeez, crow! Doesn't matter what we're playing against. We got this. Oh, it's Dragon Link. Okay. that makes things interesting. Anyway, they send the apps router. They're going to search up something here. I'm going to activate the Max C here. The reason I do this is because there is a potential that they have something like a Collapse Serpent or a Wyver Burster in their hand, and prior to this moment, they didn't have a Dark Engrave for them to go for the Collapse, or the Wyver Burster, sorry. So I drop the Max C here, hoping that it stops something like that. Turns out it doesn't matter because they have the cross out. However, this is really good for us because that means that the Nibiru will be uncontested. So yeah, they're going to go for their they're going to summon out the Rocket Tracer, which then will pop their field spell, dark locking them, and summon out their Rocket Recharger. They're then going to link off into Striker Dragon and search up the field spell. Now, this player makes a slight mistake, and I'll show you in a second. So what normally you would do here is you would pop your Striker Dragon in order to go for the add back of the Rocket Tracer. This would then allow you to utilize your field spell to bring back the Rocket Tracer from hand, and then you would still have the same materials on the field as what they do here. So they go for the Quad Boral. They're going to activate the Quad Boral and pitch their field spell in order to special summon out their 2 monsters. At this point, they have the potential to go into a 2 negate Borload Savage, so I have to Nibiru here. It's also right on 5 summons, so I'm just going to Nibiru, and they're going to set 1 and pass. Doesn't really matter what they set, because guess what? We have Called By, as well as a Branded Fusion. Turns out they have a Maxi of their own. I'm going to Called By that, and that's the concession. Good game. Alright, so how does this deck perform? In all honesty, sure, it is a boost to Darklords, but you're barely playing Darklords. You're more so using the Darklords as additional fusion material more so than anything. Sure, sometimes you're able to summon out like the first Darklord, which is really cool, but it doesn't really have that same playstyle that a lot of Darklords has. If you really just want to play like first Darklord Turbo, sure, this deck works. It's pretty good. It's one of the better decks. You could still play a lot of the like the Mirror Jade stuff. It's pretty decent. However, if you're more so looking to play Darklords as Darklords and do the Darklord things, you know, special summoning from the graveyard, utilizing the graveyard effects, the spells and traps in grave to interrupt or just gain advantage with the monsters and the like, this doesn't really have that same playstyle. It's more just Branded or Despia, or like potentially first Darklord control. It's not really the greatest, but it is rather interesting. How good is it? Not very. We had a win streak at the end of the stream, or at the end of our little play session, that was pretty good. We ended up getting like 7 or something in a row. I feel like that was more due to luck rather than us playing well. And at the beginning, we were doing pretty poorly. So take everything with a grain of salt. It's not exceptional. It's just a worse version of Branded. Granted, Branded Fusion is a hell of a card and is one of the reasons why Branded is currently top tier. So, of course, Branded Darklord is, like, fine. It's like a tier 2-ish deck just due to the nature of you being able to do all of the Branded stuff. But even with that being said, it's not really great. So, yeah. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated, and if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.